Good.
Hear me?
Hey. So, just to be clear, I'm recording this and you're okay with that, right?
Of course, yes.
You end up saying something where you're like, take this out, just stop me and I'll remove it.
Sounds good. Can I curse? Is that okay or no?
Yeah, of course you can.
Cool, 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 cool.
Only if I can. If that's all right.
Yeah.
Well, we're here with Lucas, and Lucas just finished about a month ago. 6 months. Total evolution. Lucas came up with the name for the program, Total Evolution program. And so we're just going to sit down and have a chat as a way for you to review your experience and then to share with others all the goodness that's happened for you. Are we going to have a strip tease with this? Is
Getting
that
a little
extra?
getting a little comfortable, you know? A little cash.
This is not
That
an
sounds
only.
great though.
This is not an OnlyFans interview. This is for
Total
YouTube.
Evolution OnlyFans
That's
edition.
right. Okay. So, why did you choose coaching to begin with?
Well, it's a good question. I think hmm. So I had gone to therapy a bit for a couple months, and I enjoyed it, but I think what I wanted was more of a, I don't want to say a deeper kind of growth, but c- uh, I felt like I was dancing around things with therapy, right? Like I felt like I was like trying not to really approach it directly, and I was trying to sort of do it in this way that feels therapy-ish. Like it feels like it's, you need to approach it in sort of like a psychological way, and like, all these terms and these different things. So I think coaching, what was interesting about it is it's not the psychological, like the weird abstractions. It's like your life, and there's things that you can do and somebody that you can work with that can just work on your life. Like it's very matter of fact, I feel like, and it's very, like, not, I don't want to say blunt, but it felt very just like, this is what's going on, like let's get into it, and here are things that you can actually do instead of just coming in here talking for 30 minutes like therapy and then going home and just like being in your head. Like, here are real actionable things that you can do. So I feel like part of it is accountability. Definitely feels like a more personal relationship versus therapy. It's like, I'm going to spill all of my feelings and emotions to this person, and they're going to like look at me and then like maybe ask a question or two. So I think therapy felt a little bit distanced for me with the other person across from the room, and coaching felt very much more personal and, yeah, just deeper and more actionable, I would say. So
Sweet. I love that interpretation of some of the difference between therapy and coaching as a modality. And of course, coaching is all over the spectrum, and therapy is all over the spectrum too. There's therapists that are much more like coaches, and there are coaches that are much more like therapists in their approach.
there's
Um,
actually one other thing that,
mhm.
when I was working on that startup, um, one of the coaches that we were just talking to described the difference between therapy and coaching, and that, like, I think it's something that no one ever really knows about, especially my age, like thinks about. And they said therapy is like archaeology. It's
Mm.
looking into the past and sort of uncovering things, and coaching, like architecture. It's taking what you have today and like building, the future and building on. And I was like, wow, that is just incredible. Like I want to build, like I want to have a future, I don't just want to dig something up from the past and like look at it. So that also was just like a big thing to be like, wow, that's an interesting analogy. And it made coaching much more attractive because I'm like, wow, that if that's the power of it, I want to be a part of that. So
Yeah, it's definitely future facing and action oriented, and there's accountability in tasks. It's not just like theory. It's like, okay,
right.
now do something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, So why me? Why this fellow? Why did you decide to go with me versus somebody else?
Hmm. I think a big thing outside of coaching, even just like a teacher, a professor, when I'm picking my classes in college, I'm always looking for somebody that actually like has experience, like actually did something. In marketing, there's so many professors that they just went to undergrad, then they went to grad school, then they got their PhD, and it's like, but have you ever really been in the field and, had these experiences? And I think with you, just first of all, reading your bio and hearing your story and learning more about you as a person was just like, wow, this is somebody that has gone through an incredible amount of growth, like throughout their life. And looking at that, I'm like, this is somebody that I want to. Maybe I don't have the same path as you. I definitely don't. But I think just looking at you and all the growth that you've been through, I'm like, that's somebody that I want in my corner. That's somebody that I want, sort of teaching me and working with me. So that was a big thing. And then obviously just our first meeting, just hearing you speak about why you do coaching and like the reason you do it, when you brought up money, and it was just like, I'm not in it for the money. I'm not here for that. I don't need the money, but it's going to keep you accountable, which 100% it does. And also, you said you were like, I'll give you your money back if you end up hating this and it doesn't do anything for you. I don't want you to be I don't want you to go out into the world and say, I spent this money on a coaching thing that was bullshit and didn't work.
Right.
You're like, I don't want that. And I was like, okay, well, I have no reason not to trust and believe you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think just that there was right from the start there a level of just trust that was really, really great.
That's awesome. It's funny. We spent all this 6 months like getting to know each other, and I never knew the answers to these questions. So
Yeah.
it's fun hearing that. So when you started this, what did you hope to achieve?
Looking back, I think I was going through sort of that relationship turmoil in the beginning. And I really think I had just the goal of getting through that was the main thing. Um, so I really didn't expect like all this, literally everything, like it's just everything about my life to change and transform.
Mhm.
Um, so I think it was really just like I went in with that goal of like I want to get clarity on this, and I didn't realize how everything else in my life was connected to that.
Yeah.
So I had a very like kind of narrow sort of goal in the beginning, but obviously everything comes up. Every aspect of life is connected. So kind of just a beautiful snowball avalanche in a way. So
Yeah, I can remember maybe it was like the third session or something. You like had clarity about what you want to do with this relationship, which was one of the primary goals. And I was like, okay, now what do you want to talk about for another 20, 20
5 months.
21 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but you're right. Like that relationship was symptomatic. Like we just kind of took that all the way down to the core issue, and then tried to address that, and it creates that systemic change in all these areas. Um, well, let's see. Just looking at my questions here. Uh, what fears did you have to overcome to commit to doing this work?
Definitely a fear of failure, a fear of not getting the clarity or the growth that I wanted out of it. Um, and I think it's silly looking back and saying that, but I think that was a big fear of like, I can do this and, maybe I'm not ready for the growth or I'm not open enough for it. Or honestly, fear of this other person across from me, like, is can they do it? Can they help me? Can they guide me on this? So I think that was a fear, but I think there was a fear of just judgment, from others. And uh, I feel like anytime I've grown in my life, in the past, have felt the need to, if somebody has known me in a certain way, I feel the need to like reintroduce myself or prove that I've changed or that I'm different. Or the worst case is like regress and, be that other person with them, when in reality, like, I've grown and changed. So that was a big fear of just like, how am I going to approach this? I'm expecting great change, and
Mm.
how am I going to like show that and
Mm.
have people understand that? And yeah, I mean, those fears are squashed now, but yeah.
Yeah. Enneagram 9 fears. Like, if I do, am I going to really change? And if I do change, how am I going to relate to all the people once I change? Right.
Right.
Uh, so, when did you first realize that you were really changing? What happened?
I feel like there's a pretty solid moment. And I told you about this pretty early on. I was driving to the mall. I had the windows down, and I was just like playing my music, like whatever I wanted to play, and I was like in my car, just dancing, singing, screaming. And it was a big moment for me because I realized, like, this is my space. Like, this is my life. Like, I am me in this moment, and I want to do what I want to do in this moment. I'm in my car, listen to music. I want to have a good time. And I think it was like the first time where I was like, I'm choosing to be happy, and I'm choosing to accept myself for who I am and what I want to do.
Mm.
I want to dance, I want to sing. And that might seem, embarrassing to a previous version of myself. And I wouldn't have done that. I would have rolled my windows up. I would have played it, or if I had my windows down, I would have changed the music, like, you know, based on what I thought other people would judge me for. So, yeah, that was just a moment where I was like, wow, I am accepting myself, and also not not judging others for what they think of me. Just whatever, you think of me what you want. So yeah, that was a big moment. And just those little dance parties in my own space, like, if I can't be open and accepting of myself when I'm alone and in my own space, like, how can I expect other people to do the same to me?
Yeah.
So that was a huge moment. And to this day, I'm still blasting music and dancing in my car. So
Yeah. I just love your story, how you've taken back your power that you had given away to everybody else to determine, your sense of worth, the old thumbs up, thumbs down constantly from everybody else. And now you're just like, no, I'm just going to be me fully, completely, full blast, right? People like it, that's fine. People don't, that's their problem. This is a big question. Um, what did you learn about yourself throughout this?
a couple hours, or
That's right. Sum that up in 3 to 5 minutes.
what did I learn about myself? Hmm. Well, I think probably the base of it is what you always said. It's I'm a great gift. Like, that is the core of, I think, everything else that I feel, and all the confidence, and the control I feel over my life is accepting and like truly believing that I am a good gift. And then from there, everything else just kind of falls in place. Like, if I believe that, then I have no reason to judge myself. I really have no reason to judge others because I'm loving and accepting of myself, and the people that I want in my life are going to be loving and accepting of me. Um, and then yeah, and then if I believe I'm a great gift, then I have this sense of just confidence and control over what I do, and the way I act and the things I say. It's just what I say is me, right? So if I'm a great gift, then what I'm saying is a great gift. So I think that was a big thing. And yeah, I think that just kind of seeped into my creative work. Just, you know, I had that feeling of like, I'm not creative enough, or I have to do something a certain way, or I need to fit into like this specific mold of like, you know, only photography or only film or whatever. Um, and I think there's a quote by John Coltrane, which I feel like I never really understood. I thought I understood it and I really loved it, but I never really got it. And he says, um, he's like, "Oh, I hate when people say like I play jazz." He's like, "I don't play jazz." He says, "I play John Coltrane." Like
No.
I play John Coltrane. And I'm like, it gives like I feel just chills and goosebumps in my body because like that's how I think of my life, my creative work. Like I'm not doing photography, like I'm just doing me.
Yeah.
I'm not writing. I'm not writing a film or a short story. I'm just writing what I feel and what comes to me. Um, so I think that was a big thing. Just there's no one else that has your life, and no one else fits your path and fits your mold. It's all your own. Obviously, there's people that can, guide you and help you, but at the end of the day, like your life is unique, and I'm unique. So yeah, that was. I mean, there's a bunch of other things that I learned about myself too, but I think that's the big, the sort of the crux of it, the base. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And man, I love that. First of all, I love that quote. Thank you for sharing that. And um, I just love how you have tapped into your own internal voice, right? And not only do you know your internal voice, but you know that it has value, and you're not looking for that external validation. Dude, that's killer. Inspiring for me. Um, when you think about, I mean, we had a whole bunch of little tools and techniques and worksheets and all this stuff. When you think about all of that, is there a certain one that you're like, oh, this one really had a big impact on me? This one was a game changer. If so, which one was it?
yeah, definitely the visualizations. When I close my eyes and you kind of guide me through this, just this journey through space and time, literally. Those were just incredible. I think that first one where we went back in time and I, spoke to my fifth grade self, like that was definitely the most transformative. And
Mm,
I think it was like 2 days after that when I had that moment of like i'm I'm changing, like I'm transforming, evolving. um and it was, yeah, I think those were definitely the most impactful. And also, I mean, just the wheel of life and the values,
hmm
seeing everything sort of laid out, like a tangible kind of thing to be like, wow, these really are my values, and this is really where I'm at in these aspects of my life. It's pretty eye opening to see because it's somewhat of an abstract, like, where am I at in my career, where am I at in my romantic life, where am I at in my financial life. To see it like I could put a number to it, that was really that was great. Yeah, I mean, it's like told me like I wrote it and I like drew it, but when I look at it, I'm like, I'm learning stuff about myself. So it's like I'm teaching myself, which is, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. And that is part of the coaching modality is that I'm not like the guru. You have all the answers. I'm just helping you see them, right? Uh, I wish, you know what wish I would have done? I wish we would have done another Wheel of Life at the end because here you had done that then. And so you could compare the two. Do you still have your old one somewhere in your notebook?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
yeah.
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 And then I
So,
have my old one from,
oh yeah.
September of whatever.
So it'd
So
be great. I think I
yeah,
recommend that you do that. Just go through and like,
yeah,
hey, I'm going to do a new wheel of life and compare those as sort of a benchmark. Yeah.
write that down. Cool. Yeah.
So did you ever think about quitting or giving up in this 6 month process?
No, I didn't think about quitting or giving up this relationship. I
Hmm.
think there were moments where maybe I doubted, the depth of the growth, and I was like, am I really growing and changing? Like, is this really kind of long term? We talked about like putting these things into like practice, being in quarantine and just really being in, my room, but then actually going out into the world and saying like, okay, when I'm interacting with someone, like, am I judging my thoughts and my actions? Am I judging them? So I think there were moments where I was like, am I really going to be able to solidify this growth and like put it into action and live the life that I've been visualizing and talking about? So I think there was a bit of that of like, can I do it? But I wouldn't say I was ready to quit ever. So
Good.
yeah.
Um, that just means I should have been tougher on you. I should have been. uh, well, it's and that kind of brings up another idea is that it's been, I don't know, it's been a month or maybe a little more than a month since we met last. Um,
What was that?
I don't know. It's been a little bit, 3 or 4 weeks at least.
So, oh yeah, it was June. Like actually, I think it's almost exactly a month. It was
Uh,
that Monday after. It was Monday, June 7th. Yeah.
okay. Yeah. So in this month, I mean, we have not been coaching. We haven't been meeting. Like, do you think that, okay, the coaching, like, kind of helped me play at this other level now that the coaching's done? Like, you've taken a dip, or has the trajectory changed? What's it been like after you
Uh,
finished for a month?
it has been incredible. I think the trajectory has continued and possibly escalated. It's just, it has really been an incredible month. Um, I just, my creative work, just very inspired. I feel very in control,
Mm,
which is an amazing feeling to feel. Just like the things that I do and the things that I used to do in the past that I felt like out of control and or something that I would be like, oh, like, you know, I would blame, or I would say like, the control is out of my hands and like that happened to me and whatever. I felt like just so, you know, so in control over the things that I've been doing. And it's really been incredible. And it's definitely, I've over the past month I've had a lot of I've gone to Utah on like a little film shoot. I've been in the office more. I've been seeing my coworkers more. So I think like all of this growth and really like just being there, like living life a little bit more has escalated it because I'm like, great, I'm in this situation and like here I am, like I just it doesn't feel like a reintroduction, but it just feels like
mm,
here's me, you
yeah.
know. Um yeah, and I don't know if you want me to go into like specific things, but it's just been, yeah, it's been a really great month. Um, Definitely didn't haven't fallen off, which is great. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, for me, my own sense of integrity is my number one value. And if I believe that, like, okay, 6 months you did better, and then at the end of the 6 months you went back to where you were, like, I have to quit my job or give you I couldn't do that,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
so, um, I'm glad to hear that. Of course, I asked that question. I didn't know the answer. Maybe you could have said that. I would have been so sad. uh, so I'm glad to hear that it's going well for you. And honestly, I attribute it to the fact that you were doing the work all along. Like that we were like learning how to fish, not I wasn't just feeding you fish. And that's been my difference between my own experience. The difference between coaching and therapy is therapy was a lot of people giving me fish versus coaching is a lot of like, okay, here's some ways to fish, right? So improvements. How is your mental health? Like just sense of well-being? Has that improved from where you were, I guess now 7 months ago to where you are now? My guess is yes. But how would you
Yes.
quantify? How would you quantify that?
In a percentage,
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever way you want to.
uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's not. I feel like it's not even a quantifiable thing because it's just. Yeah, I can't even put it into words, but like, I don't know. Just like at the thought of trying to like say that, I'm just like speechless about it. But I mean, I think similar to what we were saying about the trajectory, like
Mm,
easily 70% improved, like from wherever I was, wherever that was, like just an incredible, sort of jolt in that trajectory of my mental health. Um, and and it's crazy to think that because I didn't think there was 70% of improvement. You know, like I never really like thought of like, oh, where am I at like on this scale? But looking back, I'm like, holy shit! Like there's a lot of room to grow, and there still is. That's why I say 70% because I feel like there's always improvements. Um, but yeah, I think like one thing that was like a big part of my life and now is very much less and almost not even there was like before I would interact with someone like a friend or whatever, definitely overthinking of like this interaction, a lot of anxiety about it, social anxiety. And I've always thought of myself as like an introvert. Like, oh, I'm an introvert, and maybe I chalked it up to that. Like, I'm an introvert. Like, I don't want to do that. I'm realizing now, I'm like, fuck, I'm not an introvert. Like, I love people. Like, I love talking to people. So like the other day, I had a friend that just hit me up. He's like, hey, you in New York? You want to grab a drink? And I was just like, yes, let's do it. And as crazy as it seems in the past, if I was going to meet up with somebody, I might think of or even write down like things to talk about. Like these are things that I want to talk about because I was just so anxious about an awkward interaction with this other person and what they would think of me if I couldn't come up with something. And that always made it so much worse in the interaction. So now it's just like it's just jumping in. I'm grabbing life by the balls.
yeah. I don't think I can't
Riding the
imagine.
bull.
That's
Riding the
right.
bull.
That's
Yeah.
right. For those of you out there, Lucas rode a mechanical bull, which was a big it was a big sort of symbolic step forward to be publicly taking that kind of risk in something that is way outside of your normal comfort zone.
Yeah.
But I mean, anybody that watches this video is not going to look at you and say, "Well, that Lucas guy really is shy and introverted." Like that, it doesn't come across that way. Yeah. Um, and I tell you what, like it really warms my heart the idea because you weren't like mentally ill. You were not saying, "Oh, David, I'm clinically depressed." Any of that stuff whenever we started, but here you are, like 70% improvement, and just your energy level and just the light and the spirit and vibes you give off is just totally different from in the very beginning, for the better. So I'm glad that you recognize that in yourself. Um, What about your relationships? How have you spoke just a little bit just about being able to feel more social, but how have your relationships changed?
We spoke about this a little bit in the past, but I feel like I have a lot more energy. You know,
Hmm.
I have a lot more mental space, and it's just like, and a lot more love. I think that's a big thing. Like I feel a lot of love for people. So because I think the love comes from like I felt like other people were judging me,
Hmm.
right? Like other people my age or whatever. Like I felt this judgment, and you know we dove into that, and it's definitely it was me judging myself, and then giving away my power of like thumbs yeah, thumbs up, thumbs down to somebody else. So I feel like now that I've taken that back, I just have so much more love to give to people, and my relationships with the people that are close to me have just, I mean, they've drastically changed just because I feel like I have more mental space for them, less of this like anxiety, even with my closest friends of like talking to them or this or that. Um, and I think I mean, my relationship with just like humanity, like just people in general, when I go out in public, just it's so weird, but I have just like strangers that end up saying something to me or talking to me, and I love that. And and I think it's just because I feel very open and
Hmm.
accepting. So if I'm walking past somebody and like doing something and they're like, "Oh, you know, they feel comfortable enough to just say something at me." And I respond right back. I'm like, "Yeah, you know, like as if they're my friend." It's just it's yeah, it's really it's beautiful. And I feel like my relationship with my family is also changed drastically just, you know, um having more just headspace to love and accept them, and definitely being more present um, is a big thing. Just being more, yeah, in the when I'm with my friends. You know, one thing I wrote in my blueprint was like when I'm with my friends, when I'm with my family, like I'm there. You know, my time, my advice, my knowledge, my love, like it's all there. You know, for them. So that's something that yeah has been awesome, great.
I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. My kids sometimes tease me because we'll be out somewhere and I'll just be talking with somebody, and my kids will be like, "Did you know that guy?" And I'm like, "No." They're like, "What?" Because I just treat we're just like fellow human beings, right? And once you get let go of that judgment, like there's nothing to be self conscious about. And I love that you're in that space, coming from where you were. So, career and finances. How have they changed since you began this?
I mean, the career was, I mean, it was we had that one off session where we talked about career,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I think you sort of gave me the fish, you know, you gave me like a piece of the fish. You said, here, you know, here it is. But I think like I had a very it was a pretty big mindset change of like thinking about the way that I approach my career and the way that I, you know, search for a job or search for something that I want to do. Um, and I feel like the career that I have now is a pure manifestation of that mindset of you don't need to fit into a certain spot. Like I don't need to just be a strategist or need to just be a marketer. Like I have this suite of, you know, interests and knowledge. Like that is what makes you into someone that somebody somewhere wants. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's that unique set of skills. Um, and I really found that. I mean, I had this mentor, and we were just talking, and he's like, You have too many interests and too many um, like skills to be put in a bucket." You know, he's like, "You need to explore." Um, and he connected me with this job, and that was just like I could have been in the mindset of like, no, I need to focus on something, and I could have went to him and said, hey, I want to be a strategist, or I want to be this. And he probably could have helped me out. But I said, no, I want to explore, and I want to have something where I can grow and do different things, not just be like in one specific gear of, the matrix type of thing. And yeah, and I found that. So that's been really great. I think finances, uh I just think being more confident about my value has been really, really good and important. And just having those conversations of like, I feel like, my value is at this level,
Hmm.
and I'm confident in that, and I'm going to stick by that. And I think that has been, anyone who I've had that conversation with has been like, it is really great that you're having this conversation. First of all, this young, and also this early on in, this job, because if you're not your own advocate, then no one else will be. So
Right.
I think that's been, yeah, really awesome. So
Sweet. I didn't even know about we've not even, I don't think we've
yeah, we haven't,
talked about money at
no,
all the whole time.
no,
But I mean, that's one of those things when you have that sense of confidence and sense of self-worth, it affects how much money you make
yeah,
because you know what you're worth. Um, and it's funny, I'll just kind of give the people, whoever in the world is watching this in the future, uh, Lucas and I met because you were working for this sort of startup that was hiring coaches in the education that had experience with higher education because I was a college professor. He reached out to me and I guess testing the platform or whatever. I did a coaching session with you as a member of this team and the session ended up being around your career and your career set, which ironically was one of the things that helped you leave that job to find this other one. And then it was what, like 5 months, six, I don't know, it was a long time between that and then where you reached back out and we started coaching together. So anyway, it's funny how that worked out. Um,
crazy.
so this is uh, it's kind of a weird question, but money is something that affects people's decision making about coaching, and it's always weird to like just like you were trying to put a number on like how much your mental health increased.
Mhm.
Like when you think about the changes that have happened in your life and the change in trajectory, like if you were to put a price tag, now you've already paid me, so I'm not asking for more money, right? If
Uh,
you were to put a price tag on what that investment is worth, what would you put it on it, like in terms of dollars? How much is it worth? How much is 70% increase in your mental health for the rest of your life worth? Like, it's hard. I know it's a hard
yeah,
question, but I think it's good for people because sometimes they're like, that costs what? Like,
right. Yeah, I mean, it's a hard question. I mean, thinking about if I didn't do this, and I ended up, 40 years down the road, miserable. And I, when you ask that question, I think of myself being a 40-year-old miserable person and thinking like, how much money am I willing to spend to get the next 40, 50 years of my life like back, you know? And at that point, I mean, that's, I I mean, I guess it depends how much money you have,
right. So,
but so I think that's like how I'm thinking about this. I'm like, relative to how much money I would have at 40, miserable possible banking job versus now, it's hard. But I mean, you save up for a house, right? You know, 200, 300,000, like house versus, the mental health of the rest of your life. I
yeah.
think at 40, yeah, I mean, maybe 200,000, like it's a crazy number, but it's just like, that's something to to save up for. If it costs that much, I'd be like, okay, you know, if it's proven that, other people have done it and this is the right person, then hell yeah. I mean, that seems like a lot. But I think me today, if I knew what, if I looking back, if I knew the outcome,
Mm-hmm.
which I guess you don't, but if I knew the outcome, I mean, thinking about the dollar amount, God, I don't even know. Let me think how much I have in my bank account. I mean, it's not a crazy number, but 7 to 10,000,
Yeah.
like I looking back, like if this cost me $10,000, like wouldn't be upset about it,
Yeah.
which I'm not swimming in money over here, but
Yeah, no, it's a lot of money for somebody in
yeah,
their early 20s. Yeah, it's a lot of money for anybody. I mean, it's a lot of money for me. It's a big investment. And I love, first of all, thank you for doing the thought experiment. Sometimes having just a dollar amount, people are like, oh, it's worth a lot. Like, okay, I don't know. A lot to me is different than maybe it's a lot to somebody else. Oh, somebody's messaging me on Facebook, it seems. Um, Yeah, first of all, I'm honored, and this is my hope, and this is the reason I offer to give people their money back, right? Like my hope is always that at the end of this, you're like, oh, that was worth way more than what I paid, right? My minimum is at least double. I want to double the value of what you put in. At the end of it, you're like, yes, that was totally worth twice as much as what I thought I was going to get. Um, but then it's gotten even more than that. I mean, that's awesome. That was my hope, is to give that much. And honestly, I could do none of that if you didn't want to do the work. You did the work. You did the work all the way through. You did the homework. You showed up. You did the meditation in between. You just did the work and were willing and had the desire to grow. And that's all the stuff. That's all the indispensable things. I just became a catalyst for that growth. So um, you'd have to pay yourself some of that money. Um, so, what advice would you have to offer someone who's thinking about doing this kind of work? I mean, not necessarily with me, just with anybody. Um,
I mean, I think being open is just a big thing. Um, I feel like if I can't be open and honest with you, somebody that I'm coming to, paying to, you know, guide me and support me, then I don't know, I can't be honest with myself then. I feel like this should be almost the most stripped down kind of relationship and really putting yourself out there. That's how I feel. Like I feel like it needs to be that way. And I know I mean, it's hard, obviously. But I think, yeah, being open, being honest, being vulnerable.
mhm.
Vulnerable is definitely a big thing. I know a lot of people that probably wouldn't wouldn't get the benefit of this if because they're in a space where they aren't open to being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Um, and I tell all my friends, like, you should try, you should do coaching or some form of growth, but you have to be open to it.
Yeah.
That's what people say about anything. If you're an addict or something, it's like it starts with you, and it starts with you wanting to
Yeah.
change, and no one else can force you to do it.
That's right.
So I think you gotta like kind of find it in yourself a bit first, and then explore. And then just I don't know, put in the time. That's
Mhm.
the other thing. It's not when you. Yeah, I think when we first started, like, yeah, you're gonna have like 1 to 2 hours of homework a week. I'm like, God, homework. That sounds terrible, but it's like it's valuable. you know. And once you start getting into it, it doesn't feel like work. It's just like, oh, this is my life. So like
Yeah.
obviously I want to put in the time to do it right. So um yeah, I think yeah. And don't wait, you know, just
I know,
don't
man.
wait. That's I don't want to be I could easily be 40 and miserable,
That's
you
right.
know, and it's easy to slip into like just a victim, you know, mindset, and
Hmm.
things happen to you, you know, not for you or
Hmm.
by you. So
Yeah. Dude, I love that. And to all you 40-year-olds that are miserable out there that are listening to this, there's still hope for you.
that's right. You're still young. You still got
We don't want to
50
send
more
out
years.
a message for desperation. uh, anyway, I mean, but it is awesome, changing your trajectory, the mindset that you have as whatever, how are you, like 22, 4, something like that? It's something,
Turned 23 on Tuesday.
oh my gosh.
Uh,
Holy camole. I can only imagine if I had this kind of tools and mentality at 23. Whoo!
no.
Whenever you, if I, see, you'd be 40 in like, what, 17 years. I should still be alive. 17 years when you turn 40 and your trajectory is like rocketed you to the moon. You're just going to have to invite me for a vacation on your yacht somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Just remember,
How old will you be at that point?
I will be
You don't want to think about it, but
63.
wow, it's still
I will
it's
be a
young.
wise older sage by that time.
Grayer.
I'll levitate my way over to the yacht.
You won't even need the yacht. Yeah,
That's right. Well, just hang
walking
out
on
with me.
water.
That's right. That's right. Well, man, I love you. I'm so grateful. I'm super honored that I got to work with you. And thank you for doing this little review and being willing to share it with the world. And I just hope that it's an encouragement. Where can people find you out in the world? Like, if you want, do you want people to find you?
I have a I could put out my Medium where I put my like my photos and my stories and stuff like that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um, actually, maybe not. I don't know.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
I can put it in the show notes if you want.
maybe. Yeah, I'll think about it. I'll think if I
Okay.
want people to find me.
Okay. Yeah, that's
You can
right.
find me
Okay,
on the streets in New York with a
that's right.
camera.
Yeah, that's right. All right. There you go. Perfect. All right. Thanks, man. Take care. And yeah, hopefully we'll talk again soon. Okay.
Yes. All right. Thank you, David. Appreciate everything.